Now, is the government denying democracy?
Yes, well, 4.5 million people will not be able to vote in the upcoming May council elections, which critics suggest is a way for Labour to hold on to those seats.
Well, joining us now is the leader of the Conservative Party and His Majesty's most loyal opposition, Kemi Badenoch. Kemi, thanks indeed for being with us this afternoon. First of all, yes, the majority of council areas that are delaying are, of course, Labour councils. But there are some Conservative councils that are delaying too. Have you had words with those council leaders?
Not many Conservative councils are delaying. I've been very clear. These elections should go ahead. Sometimes there are reasons to delay by a year, but more than a year, I think, is extraordinary. However, local council leaders have their own democratic mandate. They will have to answer to their constituents. Conservative Party policy is these elections should go ahead.
I mean, Kemi, in Suffolk and Norfolk, it's 1.4 million, the Conservative Council, 1.4 million people are losing the right to vote. They both held elections 5 years ago. That's a long time to go without democracy. What would you say to those voters?
Well, I have said very clearly that these elections should go ahead. And what I've seen is Labour trying to bully councils into not holding elections. I wouldn't be surprised if that's played a part in it. But I'm somebody who believes that the electorate should get a chance to have their say. And what is interesting is how some people are quite happy to delay elections if they think they're going to lose, and then complain that elections are being delayed if they think they're going to win. I'm somebody who's very consistent. I think 1 year to allow for local government reorganisation is fine for a delay. That's already happened. The real problem is that Labour is still not organised. It shouldn't take this long. The mess that they're making with our local government system is something that people aren't really paying attention to. That's what I'm most worried about.
Lots of people will be thinking, is it far enough for you to say you want these elections to go ahead? Should there not be sanctions, perhaps, for Conservative council leaders or Conservatives who, granted in these few small numbers of areas, have actually asked the Labour government for a delay?
Well, I think that we should look at the vast majority of Labour councils who are asking for the delay. The councils who have asked for a delay that are Conservatives have explained that it is about money. I've been very clear with them that I think that they should go ahead. But I also respect local democracy. This is not something which is within our constitution around sanctions. I'm not a dictator. I don't just make up rules when I want to punish people because they're not doing something that I agree with. You can go to Reform or Nigel Farage for that. And as it happens, I think we should be asking Reform why they're not having by-elections for those defections. They've been talking a lot about why they want to see elections held, but they don't seem to want those elections held when they have people jumping from one party to another. That is anti-democratic. People voted for Conservatives, and they should get a chance to have their say.
Kemi, talking of Reform, Reform are challenging the government over the council elections. Do you back that challenge?
Well, I have made it very clear. I believe there are more letters going to the government. As I have said, these elections should go ahead. But what is also happening with the local government reorganisation? I'm a former local government minister. I can see a mess being made. There is no reason why it should be taking this long. We need to understand exactly what they're doing. We have already seen Labour change the formula so that rural areas are getting less money. Areas that don't vote Labour are getting less money because of what they have done with local government funding. That's going to create a lot of problems across the board as well.
I mean, while we're still on the subject of reform, Robert Jenrick was on GB News last night and said that your chief whip said there was a special place in hell for Jenrick. Do you agree with that sentiment?
This interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN and their New Year deal. New Year, new VPN, and a huge saving of up to 80% if you act now. You're busy planning how to get in shape, but the hackers are planning how to get into your accounts. ExpressVPN locks down your connection so you can start the year protecting your data. So scan the QR code or click the link in the description now.
He's lying. He's lying. And I think it's a real shame that he's being allowed to air these views. He's left the party. It's time for him to move on. It is our policy, a policy that the Chief Whip has been enforcing, to spend more money on defence and take it away from aid. I've given speeches about it. And I think this whole saga has not been about policy or policy disagreements. It is about character. We have somebody who was dishonest in our party, repeatedly betraying the confidences of his colleagues. He's now going on TV, trying to knife everyone in the back. Why doesn't he just tell people what it is that he wants to offer, rather than just being the sort of person who is slagging off the organisation that he left? All of your viewers would have had bad leavers like that. And imagine if somebody's left their company to go to another job, they should move on, shouldn't they? We're moving on. We're talking about how we're going to get Britain working again. I'm just finishing a farm visit where I've been talking to farmers about food security and the changing trade relationships that are likely to happen with all of the stuff that's going on around the world. And he's busy going around news stations talking about the Chief Whip said this to me and that. It's time for him to move on.
OK, let's speak about another subject then, of policy substance. The Home Secretary, in the dead of night this week, moved in hundreds of illegal migrants into a former army camp in Crowborough. Now, the local residents are up in arms about this, but the government says this is part of their effective strategy to close down migrant hotels. The Home Secretary has a point, does she not, that as long as we have these illegal migrants in this country, better to put them in a sort of dedicated site than in a hotel in a local town?
So there are many things that are going on now that are a problem. There are too many people coming into our country. The first thing the Home Secretary needs to do is to stop the boats. Housing migrants is costing about £4 billion a year. Money that should be going on defence. Money that should be going to the NHS on education. We're spending it housing people who have no business being here. This is an issue that I've had even very close to my constituency. The most important thing for me is that we don't have people roaming around the streets, being a danger to women and girls. I'm an Essex MP. We all know what happened in Epping. It's not the only place where it happened. And that is why our policy is to leave the Convention on Human Rights. It is stopping us from deporting people who should not be here. We need to deport anyone who arrives in our country illegally, no ifs or buts. Deport all foreign criminals who are already here. That's Conservative Party policy.
While we're on this subject, what would you do? Would you support the barracks idea, but would you make it maybe a secure barracks so the men held there weren't free to roam around the local town?
Well, if we change the legislation like I'm proposing, and we've done the work around this on how you can make things better with the ECHR, our borders plan has a lot of detail. I don't know if you've had a look at it, but it has a lot of detail there. Once you do that, then you can do things like securing people in particular places so that they're not roaming around. That's one of the things that I think would be helpful. You can't do it while you're still in the ECHR. That is why it is Conservative policy to leave the ECHR, amongst other things, changing the way the immigration tribunals work. They're stuffed with lots of people who are trying to keep people in our country who should be out of our country. But we've got a plan. The Conservative Party is a party that does the deep thinking. We're not a one-man band. We've got a well-thought-through plan, and I hope that your viewers will take the time to go through it and see that we have the answers to sort this. Labour doesn't know, and other parties don't seem to care.
OK, speaking of the Labour Party, Downing Street has in the last couple of minutes said that Donald Trump was wrong to diminish the role of NATO and British troops in Afghanistan. That's the government taking another swipe at Donald Trump. Where do you stand on this particular issue? Was Donald Trump wrong to diminish the role of British troops?
Of course he was wrong. I mean, I can't even believe you're asking me the question. What he was saying was absolute nonsense. I've met parents of young men who died in Afghanistan to now people who every November we come out and pay our respects to. It's not just about World War I or World War II. Every November we pay our respects to them. They've left children behind who don't have fathers and mothers. I think those comments are absolutely appalling. They are untrue, and he should absolutely not have said that. This is not something that we should even be questioning.
Words, just finally, before you leave us, would Andy Burnham be a better PM than Keir Starmer?
They're all bad. Let's stop asking which of the terrible options would be slightly better. What we need is a Conservative government.